Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Book Brewers. The mission of our community is cultivating the passion for lifelong learning. We want to passion for learning, and it has to be lifelong. And one of the best ways to do that is through reading books. So that's what we want to do. And for today, we are going to have three presenters. The three of us. I will present the last, I think, Getting Things Done by David Allen. And then Pipit will present Problem Solving 101. Kita will present Originals, How Nonconformists Move the World. And I will share the questions that you can use as a guideline. I put it in the chat. The title of the book and what it's about. Why did you decide to read the book? What are your key takeaways from the book? Is there a question that you would like to discuss and any questions from the audience? All right, so these are the questions. Any notes? Repeat or Mbak Inu?
Wait, start from me? Hello?
Presenter?
Yes, start from who? Oh, oh no. Oh, oh my God.
Yeah. That, uh, whose connection is in trouble? Is it my connection or people's
Yeah,
connection?
in
Because
mine,
it's not clear.
yours, yeah. Is it from me? Start from me now.
Yeah, yeah, because only the three
Okay,
of us, maybe can you start first?
okay, yeah, all right. So, sorry, couldn't hear you clearly just now. So the book I'm reading is, I have this actually last month. So it's, uh, how do I, Problem Solving 101 by Ken Watanabe. So I'm going to show you the book. It's on my Kindle. Actually, the first time I found this book was Natalie's physical book. So Natalie, the member of Toastmasters, stayed at my house and she brought her book, Problem Solving 101, physical book. And then she said it was interesting. So then I just found it on Kindle and then that's it. So that's how I came across this book. It's very short. I think it's like 75 pages. Yeah, it's not that long. And then I like reading this short book because there was one time when I had nothing but my Kindle. I had no book with me. So I just read which one in my Kindle that is short enough to spend that time. But that's how I just randomly chose it. And then that's also the why I decided to go. What are the key takeaways from the book? So I had a lot of hope about this book. First one is because the writer is actually quite a famous rising star in the. I don't know if you have heard of the McKinsey. You heard of? Don't know. You heard of McKinsey?
The consulting
That
firm?
yeah, the consulting firm, and then they managed to help a lot of companies from bankruptcy, merger, and all of things like that. And then I myself use a lot of McKinsey data to support arguments in debate. So I'm familiar with McKinsey. And then he said Ken Watanabe was one of the rising stars at McKinsey. So then he was the go-to guy to solve problems, complex problems, basically. And he was a Japanese, American Japanese. And then he was offered by the Ministry of Education of Japan to actually write a book to teach children how to be a problem solver in Japan. So this book is part of the curriculum of the like in schools in Japan, particularly the one in Osaka. Yeah, not income. Okay, so that's I had a high hope for this one. However, when I read this book, it's just basically the same techniques when we do research. Same thing. Yeah. So only he made it easy for children to understand. So the problem basic toolkit for problem solving basic toolkits actually the one that was actually explained. One thing that I really like is how he divided people into four categories and three types of people who are difficult in solving problems. The first one is people who complaining about things, keep complaining about things. Whenever there is a problem, the first thing they do is just complain about it and spend, spending a lot of time worrying, complaining, and gossiping about the problem itself. So he showed the people that is like Mr. Sai right there. It's like circling in the starting point, right? So it doesn't really solve the problem. The second one is Mr. Critic. Mr. Critic is the one who, of course, there are a lot of people who try to solve this problem, but what he does or this person does is just criticizing people's solution. So whenever people try to come up with a solution, he shuts it down, criticizes it, but he himself never comes up with a solution. You know, so he Ken Watanabe said that this person is part of the problem, and there are people trying to solve the problem, but then he keeps criticizing others who try. And the third one is Miss Dreamer, people who doesn't even realize that the problem exists. Yeah, it happens a lot. So people who doesn't see an actual problem as a problem, and that's how it's even far away from solving it. Yeah. And the fourth one is the go-getter. The go-getter people who just want to solve the problem right away with trying many different solutions. So eventually the go-getter will get to the solution, solving the problem. But the way to get there is like very zigzaggy, right? So trial and error, trying to solve the problems without any enough preparation or without knowing the root cause of the problem and things like that. So he tried many different solutions, try and error. Although in experiments, of course, we have to do trial and error, right? But even with that, it has to be cannot be randomly done. So go-getter eventually can solve the problem, a lot of them, but they waste a lot of time and resources. And then the last one is the one that I deal one, which is the problem solving people. Problem solving people, they chart the solution, spend time to actually understand the problem, and then testing the hypothesis, and then after that, charting this is the solution then, and then do it instead of just trial and error. So this is the four types of people that we categorize them in. And then I think since all of us graduate university, we already know about how to do research, right? So the first one is use logic tree. Logic tree is one of the ways to find out the root cause of a certain problem. So whenever there's a problem happening, you need to put some category. What type of problem is this a mental problem? Say, for example, is it mental issue or is it a body issue or is it a social issue? What is it? What is it? So then try to put this actual problem into category to find out what kind of problem actually this is. Yeah? So, for example, if you have a problem about the story here is about there was a group of students who started a band and then they somehow was never uh, was never able to attract a lot of audience. For example, they had 3 concerts every Saturday, but only like 5 people came usually, right? So they tried to solve this problem. Say rock bands and hip hop, right? So they tried to develop many different hypotheses of what could be the reason. Not enough. people do not publish them, right? So they kind of develop many different lists of potential root causes of the problem, and then after that, determine, analyze it. It's like, I'm sure you know already, like in research, right? So list of potential root causes problem, and then test them out one by one, which one is actually the reason, and then develop solution based on that information. Okay? And that's how you also, if the problem is so complex that there are so many root causes, then we need to prioritize the action. Which one is actually the biggest cause and to the least one? Like, the biggest factor that contributes to the problem, and then the smallest factor. So prioritize the action. After we prioritize the action, then develop an implementation plan. So basically, he said this is how Mackenzie solve even the most complex uh, issues in companies. So that's like, I think, since this is for children, yeah, he used a lot of stories such as the mushroom lovers. I don't really know why.
Repeat. I think she has a bad connection.
Yeah, I think so. I thought it was me. Pipit, can you hear us?
So Donald, what should we do? Should we wait? Oh, there's
Hello,
another
Pipit,
hello.
one.
Sorry.
Repeat.
yeah, Pipit is
Internet,
back.
internet.
That
Okay.
is a
So
problem to solve, yeah.
yeah. So I know a lot of stories. The mushroom lovers name is very fashionable, but I think the idea itself is very simple, but use a lot of illustration. I think that's what I can get out of it. If you're interested, I can screenshot actual uh, plan. Yeah. Okay. That's it. What's the last question again? Jonathan. I had a student called Jonathan earlier. Question you like to discuss. So if you face a very complicated problem, what do you do usually to solve it? Yeah. So that would be my question for the. That's it. Thank you. I will rate this like 3 out of 5 because it's almost nothing new and it's uh, overbuilt. The argument is overbuilt because it's meant to be for children. Thank you.
Thank you, Pipit, for sharing the book. It is Problem Solving 101 by Ken Watanabe. I look at the preview of the book and it's looks very fun with cartoons, easy to read text. Yeah, so it's a good book for problem solving. And there is a question from Bipit. If we face a very difficult problem, like a very complex problem, what we do to solve it? Amita, do you want to answer that?
Thank you, Donald. Repeat. I usually consult with people who are experts or at least who are experienced facing similar problems. And since we are book readers, I read books, I watch YouTubes, I see Instagrams, or I use all the mechanism that can help me solve the problems. But uh, the first thing is that you have to do first thing first. You have to focus on one problem only every day. Just one biggest challenge that you need to solve that day. Because if you have like 10 problems simultaneously and you want to solve everything, that's impossible. So one day, just focus on one. What is it that I need to solve today? What problem that I need to fix today? That's it. And contact people that can help you with this problem. And then sometimes when it's too much, the problem, I usually stop and enjoy a cup of coffee, having snack, and then when I'm energized, I go back to the problem. Sometimes you have to get away from the problem too. Yeah, when it's too much for you, if it's draining you emotionally and physically, and you cannot think how to solve it, you got to take a break and get away from the problem. I think that's my experience. Back to you.
Thank you, Mbak Mita, for sharing the way to face a hard problem. And now my turn. Actually, it is a question that I want to ask, but because people asked first, so there are several things that we can do. It depends on the problem, so I'm not sure where to start. It depends on the problem. Maybe you can give a case, Pipit. What kind of problem, just for example?
Wow, it's hard to give a case there. A complex one. Maybe that's like a family conflict or something. That's usually complex because that involves a lot of feelings. It's not logic, right? If it's like logical problem, I think it's, to be honest with you, it's easy to solve. How about something that is so complex because it involves human emotion,
Yeah.
negative emotion, something like that?
Yeah, if it is like a family conflict which involves a lot of emotion, I think first of all, the ideal way to solve it is to take a distance to calm ourselves or myself first, because otherwise our spontaneous reaction can get in the way. So we need to take a distance and not to take the decision right away. Actually, it is not just family conflict. I've once read a personal finance book. If you get a windfall, a large amount of money, you should not decide soon what to do. So you need to take some time to calm down so that you can look at this at the right perspective with the right perspective. And after that, I think we can use the steps that Pipit already explained about trying to figure out the cause and then the steps, the hypothesis. But first of all, we need to calm down and look at it at the right perspective. Also, in general, I think we need to put the problem in perspective also. Something that we think it is a big problem might not be a big problem. And on the other hand, something that is a small problem might actually be a big problem. So assessing.
Donald, I cannot hear your
Yeah, I
voice.
cannot hear him too.
Okay,
Uh,
can you hear me
oh,
now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, my internet connection is unstable here, it says. So we need to put the problems in perspective, because a problem that we think is a big problem might not be a big problem, and something that is small might actually be a big problem. So before we decide to solve the problem, we need to solve the first problem, which is to assess the severity of each problem. I think that is the first step, because we might spend too much resources on something that is not so important. I can give an example, but it is recorded. Yes, this is a bit personal, so I will not, yes, share it. Yeah, but there are problems like that we have to assess first the priority. Okay, back to Bibit.
I like Mita's idea and your idea. If I can uh, point out what I like is about how uh, don't need don't need to be so ambitious trying to solve many different problems at the same time. It's not gonna happen. We need to also consult the people that we trust, and then and take a break if you're tired. Because when we are not in a good position or situation, we tend to make the wrong decision. And then that's somehow related to what Donald said about when we are in a rush, we also tend to make the wrong call. Yeah. So I think I myself seen it myself how when I'm in a rush, I usually regret the decisions, something like that. So yeah, thank you for sharing.
Oh yeah, I remember one thing to Pipit. I read a book. Yeah, uh, it's called Life is Beautiful, written by my friend Arfan Pradiansya. Actually, he talks about problems are good for us. So I think that's a good approach. Yeah, mindset about problem. I still do see problems most of the time are like frustrating. Yeah. However, in his book, he says that problems are actually good for us because they challenge us to think more creatively, to think better, to find better ways to do things. The problems actually are given to us by God to grow us to become a better person. Once I read that, actually, when I remember this, sometimes it can calm me down like, okay, God is trying to teach me something, I'm growing, so take a deep breath, do what I can with what I have. But if we still cannot find the solution, it's okay. But at least I think the first step is to change our mindset about problems are good. I think that's good. If when we see problems are ways of God to make us grow, I think it's a good because we will have problems until we die. There will be problems. This is inevitable. So first we have to become friends with problems. Problems are not our enemies. They are our friends. I think that's what I remember. Thank you.
Thank you, Bamita. I would like to give an additional comment as well. Just remember, like what we do right now, we are discussing books. This is building mental models, and mental models is necessary to assess and solve problems. That is one of the benefits of reading books because we widen our perspective. We can see from different point of view. And why book? Because book is deep. If we just read articles or social media, it's quite deep. So it empowers or enriches our mental model to solve problems. Okay, so the next is any question for Pipit from Anita? If not, I have a question. My question is, does the book tell the reader about how to ask the right question? Because sometimes we ask the wrong question with regard to the problem. Like for example, the rock band, maybe the question they ask is, how can we get more audience? But maybe that is not the right question to ask. Maybe the right question to ask is, what hinder people from coming? Or another question, does the book share about how?
Maybe it did, but I forgot. But then the one that stuck out the most is actually try to come up with many different questions, basically. So basically, uh, in the part of classifying the problem, actually it somehow challenges you to think that is this even a problem or not for someone. So sometimes it looks like a problem, but it's actually it's not a problem, right? And then second, if it you have confirmed that it is a problem, then you need to put them into categories. The one I said earlier about what kind of problem is this? Is this um like that rock band? Is it because not enough people heard about it? Because we haven't promoted it? Or is it because we play bad and then people know and then they kind of told other people that this band is not good, so they do not come there? Or is it because the venue is not comfortable? Is it because it's too hot? Or is it because it's too expensive? Something like that. So the book talk about do not limit the possibilities of uh, the root causes. Yeah. And then the thing is, um, we have to be patient in somehow ruling out that this is actually not the root causes. And then for me, it's a little bit tiring because for every single possible root causes to come up with, you actually have to develop many different strategies to answer it, like questionnaire, all of these things, and then reflection. So I think it's easier said than done. And then the tool is too general to be put in a specific context in that kind of sense. But I think it's just a reminder of when we are faced with problem, what the first thing we have to do first. That we have to make sure that we are not part of the people who worry too much about it, people who criticize others, people who do not have any plan, just try and error to solve the problem, people who do not even realize that problem exists. So that's probably the most important one. And second is how classify the problem itself, trying to find the root cause. So I think that's the very general thing I can talk about.
Thing
Thank you, Donald.
101. Yeah. And I think it's a very interesting book. The author is a consultant or former consultant from McKinsey, and I think he can outline the methods in a way that is quite easy to understand. Yeah, thank you, Pipit, for sharing. Shirani, are you going to share a book?
Donald, currently I'm reading like a poetry book, so yeah. So I'm going only to listen because currently I am more to poetry book instead of like that kind of very serious book.
Okay, okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so next, Mbak Mita, are you ready to share the book originals?
Okay, I'm going to share. This book is called Originals, written by Adam Grant. It explains about how nonconformists move the world. The reason why I chose this book because I'm working on my next book this year. I'm a book author, self-published, and I'm using my books for my coaching and my teaching and for um, everything. So as Donald said earlier, that book is deep, exactly. So for me to write my own books, I need to read books that are related to the subject. And I think authenticity or originality is the topic that I'm going to write in my next book. So this is so good. That's why I chose this book. And what's interesting about this book, in the beginning, because I haven't completed reading the whole books, I'm just like in the first few chapters, but this book is already exciting for me. So I want to share my feelings of excitement with all of you. He says that originality is an act of creative destruction. Advocating for new systems often requires demolishing the old way of doing things, and we hold back for fear of rocking the boat. And this is important because after the pandemic, I am put in many situations that have conflicts between the status quo or the former ways of doing things and the new new ways of doing things, the new generations. We can say that the problems exist across generations, the silent generations and the Gen Z generations that finally creates a system or some others because the organization restructuring the from one company it becomes three companies merge the other one The one that I recently was invited to attend is the trial of Nadiem Makarim, the former of our Minister of Education and Culture, where he is accused of being corruptive of the money because during his ministry, uh, the ministry decided to use Chrome operating system instead of the Microsoft operating system. So this book is good because it deals with how the nonconformists move the world, how people like Nadim, who are the nonconformists, can move the world. So what this book in the beginning say is not easy to be originals. You will be put in trial like Nadim. It's a consequence. And for women, you will be even bullied by other women. So I quote here from page 8, Finding the Faults in Defaults. Employees who use Firefox or Chrome to browse the web remain in their jobs 15% longer than those who use Internet Explorer or Safari. Firefox and Chrome users were 19% less likely to miss work than Internet Explorer and Safari fans. The Firefox and Chrome users had significantly higher sales, and their call times were shorter. Their customers were happier too. After 90 days on the job, the Firefox and Chrome users had customer satisfaction level that the Internet Explorer and Safari users reach only after 120 days at work. So they're faster in reaching customer satisfaction. So how are they different? Adams here says what made the difference was how they obtained the browser. If you own a PC, Internet Explorer is built into Windows. If you're a Mac user, your computer came with pre-installed with Safari. Almost two-thirds of the customer service agents used the default browser, never questioning whether a better one was available. To get Firefox or Chrome, you have to demonstrate some resourcefulness and download a different browser. Instead of accepting the default, you take a bit of initiative to seek out an option that might be better. And that act of initiative, however tiny, is a window into what you do at work. So that's the key. The act of initiative to go above and beyond, to ask the status quo, to take time to do more than what other people do. That's the key of a greater customer satisfaction. And in fact, at the end, I'm going to jump to at the end, Adam Grant quoted here, becoming original is not the easiest path in the pursuit of happiness, but it leaves us perfectly poised for the happiness of pursuit. And the first steps are for individuals to generate, recognize, voice, and champion new ideas, and for leaders to stimulate novel ideas and build cultures that welcome dissent, for parents and teachers to help children become comfortable taking a creative or moral stand against the status quo. And he gives on the page 240 some individual actions for generating and recognizing original ideas. For example, he recommends us to immerse into a new domain, like taking up painting, piano, dance, or poetry lessons if you've never done this. Or he also recommends us that when our ideas is not heard, we need to be patient because reactions typically become more positive after 10 to 20 exposures to new ideas. So if you ask or you recommend something once, it will not work. You recommend 3 times, it will still not work. But after 20 times, there's a possibility people will listen to you and will follow. So I think this is good. It's about persistence, yeah, and with the new ideas. So giving up easily is not an option. If you want to move the world, you need to be patient and persistent. And the most interesting thing, he says that we should be friends with people who are disagreeable with our methods. So he says that in the US Navy, there's a young aviator named Ben Coleman, created a highly effective rapid innovation cell by assembling a band of junior officers who had disciplinary action brought against them for challenging authority. So they had a history of principled dissent, and although they held different objectives, their habits of loyal opposition meshed well. Adam said, "Your best allies are the people who have a track record of being tough and solving problems with approaches similar to yours. And if your idea is extreme, couch it in a more conventional goal. That way, instead of changing people's minds, you can appeal to values or beliefs that they already hold." Yeah, so there are methods here how you can voice your ideas in better ways so people will accept your ideas, even it's controversial and it's non-conforming to the status quo. I think with Nadim case, because I remember even with Gojek, the taxi drivers of Bluebird were in conflict. The Gojek drivers, they were like in front of my apartment. There were the taxi drivers of Bluebird like shooting guns. I see it was like the dark black clouds here. I was so scared. And then this time he's put in prison. I think he's good in a way that he's non-conformist and he moved the world. He's good with he gave jobs to 4 million of people of Indonesians. He helped my son during the pandemic with the what do you call it, independent learning, Merdeka Belajar. He helped me with being a teacher, I can do the teaching online now. So he's good. However, after these 2 sessions, and I've checked with the market, with the IT people, most IT people, they disagree with Chrome operating system. They think it's too fast. They're not ready to help any office in the world, any person in the world, I mean, in Indonesia, not in the world perhaps, so the way Nadim used his ideas, the way he voiced it to the Ministry of Education was not wise. I think that's why he's put in jail. So he should have started using this Chrome operating system with the ministry first. I think that's the best way. If it worked there, then he could use it to the teachers to Indonesia. So now be careful with your ideas as well. If you voice it wrong way, too fast, too controversial, you could be put in prison if in this country. Yeah. So I think that's my conclusion as a 52-year-old woman. So if you have any comments or questions, please feel free to comment and ask. Back to you, Donald.
Thank you, Mbak Mita, for sharing this book, Originals by Adam Grant. Any questions from Pipit or from Suryani?
I just would like to make a comment, not a question. So I'm glad that the book talk about how when we got rejected, the idea, don't be too discouraged because people will warm up to the idea after 10 or 20 times of exposure. I think that's very encouraging. because, as you know, many times we have experienced that we thought our idea was great, but then it got rejected for some reason, right? And then it's easy to give up rather than to be persistent about it. But then I think this type of advice also can be a double-edged sword, because in a system that somehow, if we are seen as a persistent, sometimes it is actually look negative. You like in bahasa Jawa is ngengkel, like we're so stubborn. Like they told us no, but we kept on promoting the same idea over and over. So I think it's good news to hear that don't be discouraged too soon. There's also, we still have to take it with a grain of salt, because in a system where it's quite harsh in terms of accepting or not accepting ideas, it can be bad for us, basically. Can be disadvantageous for us. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bibit. Gamita, maybe you would like to respond?
Oh, I understand completely how you're feeling, Pipit, because it's interesting. In this book on page 86, uh, sh- Adam quoted Sheryl Sandberg. Adam and Sheryl Sandberg, they wrote one book together. I think it's called Option B or Plan B, something like that, because Sheryl Sandberg's husband passed away, and Adam is a psychologist. So I think he counseled Sheryl Sandberg to bounce back from the death of her husband. Sheryl Sandberg used to be the COO of Facebook, yeah. So in her book Lean In, Sheryl Sandberg wrote, when a girl tries to lead, she is often labeled bossy. And then Adam said, when I analyzed my own data, the results were deeply disconcerting. In an international bank and a healthcare company, I found that voicing new revenue generating ideas led to higher performance evaluations for men, but not for women. Other studies show that male executives who talk more than their peers are rewarded, but female executives who engage in the same behavior are devalued by both man and woman. Similarly, when women offer suggestions for improvement, managers judge them as less loyal than men and are less likely to implement their proposals. So, Pipit, don't give up, never, because that's the reality. And it's what you call backed up by the research, by the facts. So, knowing this, we should do more than 20 times, not giving up at the first time. And we have to accept people will label us by obnoxious, they will label us ngayel, whatever. They will even boo. It happened to me during a meeting, yeah, in our apartment when we selected new officers. I thought the bullier would be old man. In fact, other women my age, they bullied me because I was the strongest, the most vocal one in the meeting. So now after reading this, oh, that's what happened. I understand. It's okay people bully me or they boo me. I will do more than 20 times because I know what I say is right. You know? So that's my woman to woman advice to you, Pipit. And I'm 20 years older than you, perhaps. Yeah. So don't worry. Be happy when people thinks you're ngeyel or ngengkel or obnoxious.
Okay, Kak.
Yeah, thank you, Mbak Mita. Any question or comment from Suryani?
I think I really like just now that Miss Mita, giving the encouragement to Miss Pipit as well, because all in all, the thing that I got from Miss Mita just now from the book that she has just read is persistent about new ideas. As a leader, I think that yeah, pretty much like that, being merengkel, people might be thinking like, "Aduh, Suryani, you are bringing so many things on the table." So it's kind of very, relatable with whatever I'm doing right now. So thank you very much, Miss Mita. It means a lot. I think that's it, Donal.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Suryani. I have a question for Lanita for the book before we move on to the next book. The book is titled Originals, and my question is, what is the most surprising or unexpected or original ideas that you find in this book?
You mean the ideas from Adam,
Yes,
the
in
author?
the book. Yeah, so
Uh,
there are some ideas, there are common sense, so expected, but what ideas are, what is the idea that is the most unexpected from this book?
okay, I think it was in the most expected is that he says that at the end we have to be original because that's for our happiness, because that's what God created us. We cannot not be original. However, the ways to become original is probably we need to learn. That's what I experienced in my life. I thought being original, being authentic is like only privilege for some people, but it's not. That's the most original way. This is the way we should live. Be original. We need to voice our opinion. But he says that we need to take more initiative, and there are other ways. But I think what's the new things that I learned that the way that we voice ourselves, the way that we take initiatives need to be more polished. There are new ways, there are better ways in doing this. I think that's the most original thing. And in fact, he says that it's not easy, but it is necessary. He gave an example, Martin Luther King, yeah, because Martin Luther King had to voiced the original idea that black man is equal to the white man. Everyone at that time could not accept that idea. People resisted the idea, and the people they became violent. And the most interesting that the Martin Luther King did not teach the black people to become violent too, to respond to the violence, but he taught instead to become peaceful. And this is interesting. And Adam said here show another research. He said that actually when we become violent against violent, we're not gonna be, it's not better, it's not gonna make us more peaceful inside. So venting and even being resistant to people who are violent to us actually is not gonna make us feel better. What makes us feel better actually is to be more peaceful and do what Martin Luther King did, to take the peace action, yeah, to accept that, and we focus more on empowering ourselves instead of focusing on the people who hurt us. Yeah, so that's the most interesting part. Yeah, because when we focus on people who hurt us actually and become violent to them again, we give power to them. Instead, we give power to ourselves. So we need to turn our anxiety, our anger to more positive things that we can do. And that's what Adam advises us. I think that's the most original idea that I learned today. Thank you, Donna, for asking me the question.
Thank you, Mbak Mita. So we have to be original, but there are more polished ways to share our opinion. Thank you for sharing this book, Originals by Adam Grant. Because there are only three presenters, so the next book will be mine, and the title of the book is Getting Things Done. Getting Things Done. It is by David Allen. Getting Things Done by David Allen. And this is actually a second edition of the book. I read the first edition years ago, and now I read the second edition. The title of the, I will go through the question in the chat. The title of the book is Getting Things Done, and what it's about. It's about stress-free productivity. So that is the subtitle, The Art of Stress-Free Productivity. Why did you decide to read the book? I read the first edition of this book many years ago, and I want to read the second edition to refresh my memory of this book. And also, during all these years, I have found that the ideas in this book are useful. It's actually one of the most famous books in the personal productivity space, almost as famous as The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is an influential book, and the ideas, I will go to the next question. What are your key takeaways from the book? The emphasis of this book is stress-free productivity. So in many cases, we can be productive, but we are stressed about it. And the key lesson or the key principle in this book is how to be stress-free. And for that, there are two key ideas from this book. The first one is we need to capture everything. One reason why we become stressed with something or with everything is because there are so many things that are flying around in our head. Therefore, this book, the author teaches that we should put everything in writing. We should not use our memory, our brain, to memorize things that we need to do. We need to offload all of this to our system. Therefore, our brain is clear. We do not have to worry or try to remember about the things that we need to do or what we have to do next. All these have been offloaded to the system. So that is the first key thing. The second key thing is that we need to decide the next action that we should do for every project. So the term is project. Project is something that we do that requires multiple steps. That is called a project. So that is the definition of project in this book. Something that we need to do that requires multiple steps. The second key thing from this book is that we need to decide what the next action is. And it is an original idea, if I can say, compared to other books in time management or personal productivity, because this book is very much on specifying the next action. The next action has to be tangible. For example, if we say that the next action is to set a meeting, that is not tangible enough. Next action is something that is tangible, something that is a physical action. For example, I need to call this person. That is tangible. So we need to break it down. And I found that this is useful. Usually if we procrastinate or I procrastinate on something, the main reason is because I do not know what is the next action. It is not broken down, detailed enough to be done without thinking. So maybe that is another way to put it. We need to put the action that we can do without having to think about it anymore. That is the definition, not in the book, but my own definition of next action based on everything that is written in the book. And there are several places to, as part of our system, there is our calendar, and then there is our project list. Okay, project is something that we need to do that requires multiple steps. There is project support. Project support is all the information required to do the projects. And then there is the next action list. Next action list is different from project. Next action list is about the tangible action that we need to do. It can be for each project or outside of a project is in the next action list. And then we need to have another place for reference. Reference is something that we might refer to in the future. And then the last one, no, not the last one, there are two more. Waiting for is something that we delegate to other people and we wait for their response, that is under waiting for. And the last one is called someday or maybe. This is something that we might do sometime in the future, but not now. And when we get something into our inbox, the term inbox is something that come to us, doesn't have to be an email, but something that come to us that we need to do something about, that is called the inbox. We have three possible actions. We can do it, especially if it takes under 2 minutes. We can delegate it to other people, or we can defer it. Defer it means we put it in the system, maybe in the calendar or in the someday maybe, so that we do not need to think about it again until our next review. And then we can decide what to do about it. So in short, the system is designed to be trustworthy. We can trust that the right reminder will come up at the right time. We do not need to worry about this, and we will not miss anything. And that is why the system is called stress-free. That is the takeaway. Is there a question that you would like to discuss? No? Any questions from the audience?
Donald,
Yes, please, Suryani.
Stress Free, this one's such a very nice book. So, would you mind please to share on what particular ways that in your real life that you have implemented some takeaways that you've just mentioned? Some of it's like delegating and someday. What are the things that you really implement and it really does stress free things like that? Like it helps you.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Because I've read the first edition of this book many years ago, the one thing that is most effective in making me stress-free is to offload everything from my mind. So I never keep things in my mind. Everything is offloaded, and this one has become a habit since I read the first edition many years ago. Every idea is written down, everything that I need to do is written down, and there is a place for everything. So my mind is clear. I never have to try to remember, I need to do this, I need to have these steps. All of these are already offloaded. So it clears my mind. I think that is the one that is most effective for me. Does it answer the question? Sorry.
Yeah, thank you, Donald.
Any other question?
I just want, Donald, your stress-free topic reminds me of something that I just learned recently. You said that you upload your mind into and write down everything. Is that like journaling or is that like you make a to-do list?
it it depends on what the thing is. So there is a different place for different type of ideas. If it is a task, there is a to-do list. If it is an appointment or something that I need to do in the future, it is the calendar. If it is something that I might do in the future, it is the someday maybe list. That is another list. So it depends. It depends on what the thing is. There is a place to put. If it is just an idea, there is an idea journal, and all the ideas is put there and can be searched. So there is a different place for different kind of ideas. Does it
So you
answer?
have different kinds of methods for different kinds of ideas.
Yes. Yeah. In the past,
Okay. Thank
in the
you.
past I even book paper just like the author to write down everything. But more recently, I just use an app. I'm a developer, so I develop my own app to capture all these ideas.
You develop your own app?
Yes, that's my background. My background is computer
What is,
science.
okay, what is your app like for stress-free app? Can you share with us, please?
It is just one type of ideas. So if it is time-based idea, I put it in Google Calendar. Everyone use Google Calendar or something like that. And if it is very long, I use OneNote. But if it is uh, short, so just a nugget of ideas. This one, I don't have any app that is suitable, so I develop my own. So you can put the ideas in short form and tag it with you can find it or organize it different ways. Yeah, simply because I cannot find anything out there. But for things that have available solution, I just use available solution like Google Calendar, Microsoft OneNote, and the likes.
Okay, thank you, Donald.
Thank you, Banita. Any other question? Yeah, if not, because we still have time, maybe Suryani, you want to share what you learned recently? It doesn't have to be a book that you have read completely, just brief sharing is okay.
Um, so lately I have been reading about early childhood education book. So I've been taking like a course for the Montessori for the early childhood education. What I learned is that they've just mentioned about three types of learning process. The first one is that based on the Montessori. Second, it is about the from the Finlandia, and the third one it's from the Cambridge style. So recently, because I am now a principal in preschool, then I learned a lot of things that parents are coming to the school with a lot of question on how actually they educate their kids. And on actually I bought this book. The title is Parenting, but 101 Parenting. It is made by one of the, I forgot the writer, who is that, but then practitioner parenting, things like that. So I'm not a parent yet, but what I learned is that um we need to always give the access of to our kids, like they need to feel loved at the top of everything at home, because the first layer they come is from actually from the home first. So, and second of all, they are coming to the school. And what makes me a bit surprised was I have been learning a couple of years now about mathematics, let's just say, and mostly the teachers are basically teaching about the abstract ways of doing the number bones, let's just say like that. And then what comes very important as the preschooler kids learn about math is we need to always teach them the real concept. So the three things in Singapore usually math teacher are doing, first of all, it's probably it is about the, not probably, they run with the concrete, with the concept, concrete, and also the abstract. So most of us here, what I see, I have been experienced myself as well. Um, it is very rare to find a teacher who are bringing the tools exactly to the classroom and teaching math, but mostly it is only like the abstract ways, like writing all the numbers, and then we are forcing to understand all of those kind of things instead of like giving them in real life tools like that. So it's like Montessori stuff. Take one block and then by adding the other block, and how many is that? While it comes to the number bone, then here is the 10 blocks and another five, and what is the other five, the other one of it. So it more to the concrete way of learning process. Then one of my lecturer asked me, so which one do you think that coming from the Finland, they always need to feel they always ask students need to feel home after all, and coming from the Cambridge way, that they ask students to be more critical, and they do a lot of things like scientist things like that. So because in my school we have one curriculum, we call it as the young scientists, so all of the students are coming to explore science. um, and also from the Montessori, we are giving the students basically time to explore more on the tools that we are preparing at the table. So I come to my conclusion is that I cannot really choose one of three of them, but if it is possible to really accommodate the students to the very basic things that they need, especially for the free schooler like my students right now. I think that I would love to have them joyful learning process as well as, and also all of the tools come concrete at the same time with them. So they come to the understanding that, oh, this one is the concept of number one, and this one is the concept of value one, things like that, instead of like one, you remember, okay, one is like that. So that's so far that I learned. I am trying to take my education in early childhood education. So yeah, that's it. I guess, Donald, it is the Montessori thing, stuff like that.
Thank you, Shirani, for sharing. Yeah, so we need to learn not just the abstract stuff, but the concrete way.
Yeah.
Any question from Namita or Pipit?
I just
Sorry,
want to
I'm mobile right now. Cannot comment for it.
Okay,
Yes.
I just want to comment, Suryani, as a parent.
Yes,
I
please.
absolutely agree with you that love is the first thing that we need to give to our children. And what I just learned as a parent, better late than never, one thing that is, I think, the hardest and the most challenging, the silent generations or baby boomers, perhaps, and even including me, the Gen X, to accept our children is the hardest thing. To love means to accept, because accepting a person, and especially our children for who they are, that are completely different from us in terms of everything, is not easy. And I think love doesn't mean that you give money only. Love doesn't mean that you give time only. But it is when you find something it's hard for you to understand. Try to understand. If it's hard for you to accept them for who they are. Yeah. And I think that's the best thing about love is, despite differences, despite the uncomfort feelings, despite of everything, us being different generations as parents, we need to accept our children, because only when we accept them at home as parents, they are ready to face any kind of challenges out there. If we say that they're the best children for us, is the best thing that they can have as a support. So when they go out in the world, the real world that is full of the many challenges, they're ready to function. And the other one, in addition to acceptance and understanding our children, is what is that? I almost forgot. This one is the most important thing as parents, is to it's not to ask them to forgive us, meaning that we apologize as parents. That's something that my parents, the silent generations, rarely do, but they're trying so hard. Maybe in a year they do it in front of the public for their anniversary or their birthday parties. They apologize. Uh, like, I remember my father apologized to me twice in his life. First, when I got married, I think. The second one during his birthday party, just in last year, November. That's the only times. But learning that as a parent, I always apologize to my son. I said that I'm sorry that I'm not a perfect mother. I do a lot of mistakes. Yeah, and because I'm a human being, I'm still learning being a parent. But what I can advise you is that no one is perfect. Yeah, we make mistakes, we have weaknesses. So you learn from our weaknesses. Don't follow them. Don't copy our weaknesses. Pick the good ones from us, the parents, and follow the good ones. But the bad ones, not just from parents, from everything. The bad ones, you get away from that. But please forgive me. I always ask my son to forgive me, because learning from my parents that the silent generations think that you know, this is probably personal experience. My father still used that, jangan durhaka, something like that, So
Yeah.
I never use that to my son. Never ever. Yeah, because I don't think that works anymore. So yeah, so that's love. Yeah, love for me, understanding our children, accepting our children, and apologizing as parents. I think that's love. So thank you, Suryan, yeah, for reminding me this.
Thank you, Mbak Mita. Jadi Suryani want to respond?
No, it's totally so right. Donald, parents are seldom to say sorry actually. I don't know why, but that's happened. But anyway, we still love them. And thank you, Miss Mita.
Okay, thank you. So I think Pipit will not have questions. Yeah, I want to ask you, you said three systems, Finland, right? Cambridge, and when the other one is?
It's the Montessori.
Oh, I see. Okay, those are the three systems. Okay, thank you, Suryani, for sharing. Because we have all shared our books, so I think we can take photo before we close. Pipit cannot
Donald,
take
I
photo.
would Photoshop myself in. I cannot participate in photo taking right now, but please share it
Okay,
with me later.
okay. And I cannot show my book either because if I take the screenshot, I need two hands.
Can we ask help from maybe Suryani or Kak Mita to take group photo?
Oh, let me try, Miss. Let me try. Let me try.
Yeah.
Yeah. Print screen, yeah. Okay. Are you guys going to share your book? Okay. 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me paste it a while. Okay. Got it. Okay, hang on, okay. This is very first time, very first time.
Okay, you're fine.
Yeah. Let me. Like basically it is so laggy. Hang on, okay? Sorry. Okay, I think it's good enough. I'll send it later.
Thank
Okay.
you, Suryani. Our next
Thank
meeting
you.
will be on March
In
14. March
March
14.
14. March 14.
Our second Saturday. Thank you, Mamita. Thank you, Pipit.
Miss Mita
Bye,
dan.
Thank
everybody.
you.
Have
See
a
you
nice
next time.
See you
Thank you
weekend.
all.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.